Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. Greetings and salutations. It's going up for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. We are with you for 3 hours, and at 6 o'clock, we'll hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network to see if the boys in blue can set a new season-long winning streak. 4 in a row for the Royals after a 6-2 triumph over Cleveland in the first of 4 against the Guardians last night at the K. Game 2 is scheduled for tonight, 6:40 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame from the Royals Baseball Network. Stephen Kolek, the emergency starter for the Royals tonight in place of Noah Cameron, who's dealing with lower back tightness. He will oppose Cleveland ace Gavin Williams. 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch. Catch it right here, 580 WIBW. And FM 104.9. Appropriate, perhaps, that the Royals are going for a 5th straight victory on this Cinco de Mayo. Win number 4 last night came as a result of 3 star performances. One guy you expected from, one guy who has delivered quite a few of those here in the early stages, and the third of those, well, it was his bobblehead night. We're going to talk a little bit about Jac Caglianone, who has settled in as a comfortably above average hitter to start the season. Maybe not hitting the home runs by the bushel yet, but some interesting trends that show that this improvement is the real thing for Jac Caglianone. Also, there's a team-wide improvement happening right now, and it's kind of hard to notice it because the difficulty scoring runs really obscured anything else that was happening offensively for the Royals through their first 25 or so games. But broadly, the Royals as a team are better at not making outs than they were last season, and a lot better at not making outs than they were at this point last season. Why is that? Well, there's one league-wide trend that explains it, but perhaps there's some reason for optimism that maybe this Royals team is, at the very least, average at getting on base, or if you prefer to think of it another way, average at not making outs. Average would be a long way from where they've been in that department, and I mean that in a good way. So lots of Royals to get to. We'll do that here in this opening hour, and of course, we'll look ahead to Game 2 of the series coming up tonight. Also going to get to some Chiefs football today. We had an interesting conversation. Matt Verderam's always good, our NFL insider. He joins us every Monday in the 3 o'clock hour. And if you ever miss out on him, I encourage you to go back to the podcast page or the video archive and see what Matt has to say, because he really is tied in. He really is thoughtful. And we had a good discussion yesterday, and he made a point about the Chiefs wide receiver group that really stuck with me. And I am starting to wonder if the Chiefs are putting all of their eggs in one person's basket at wide receiver. And it's not a player, and it's not the quarterback, and it's not the coach or the offensive coordinator. We'll get into that a little bit and look at that wide receiver group because, yeah, on paper, there are some guys whose like 90th percentile outcome could be really, really good. But all 3 guys going to hit 90th percentile outcomes in 2026, your top 3 guys. And if they don't, who is wide receiver number 4 right now for the Kansas City Chiefs? And we'll ask that question. I'm telling you right now, it's not a good answer to that question. So what are the Chiefs actually thinking about their wide receiver group? We'll get into that later in the show today. Our guest in the 4 o'clock hour today will be Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, returning to his usual Tuesday time slot for this week's edition of Jayhawk Weekly. We'll get Michael's thoughts now that the dust has settled on the Tyron Stokes recruitment and commitment announcement. Kansas going to add anybody else meaningful to the roster, or where are the coaches? Where is the staff on that particular mission for the 2026-27 Kansas basketball roster? We'll also get some football thoughts as spring practice comes to a close for the Jayhawks. Michael Swain, Fog.net, joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And we'll have our usual Tuesday shenanigans on the program. We'll do a round of Random Question Tuesday. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a playoff roundup, and another round of What Is Wrong With You, plus a whole lot more. You want to join the conversation? The door's open. Text the program today, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. That's the number to text if you would like to reach the show today. You can also interact in the live comments, or the live chat, rather, on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Invite you to punch on in and to say hello and interact with your fellow listeners in addition to your hosts, and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community in the live chat on YouTube. I see Christopher, Andrew, Vance, Mark H., Paul in the chat so far today. Appreciate you guys being along. Andrew, I think, is trying to speak free tacos and margaritas into existence on this Cinco de Mayo. Listen, I would love nothing more than to be enjoying a taco right now, as a matter of fact. Margarita, I don't know. I find I do better work on the air when I am sober. Actually, I haven't found that. I've just kind of assumed that over the years. Saying that I find that suggests that I've done the show in a state of inebriation. And I want to be real clear to everyone listening. I've not done that. I have too much respect for the audience to show up on here plastered. But like a post-show margarita, man, I'd be down for one of those. I love Mexican food. Happy Cinco de Mayo to those who observe, and even those who just observe with a taco and a margarita. So, appreciate those of you in the chat. Look forward to hearing from more of you throughout the show. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. We're 47 subscribers shy of 1,000. Who's going to get us one closer today? Is it you? I bet it's you. Go subscribe. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And again, the text line, 785-272-9429. Royals 6, Guardians 2 last night. That's 4 straight series openers won by the Royals. A lot of positive trends here in the last couple of weeks of baseball. Royals, of course, have won now 9 of their last 13, and they've won 4 consecutive series openers after starting 2-6 in that department. You're not giving yourself the best chance to go out and win a 3 or 4 game series if you're dropping the opener. But the Royals have now won 4 consecutive series openers. And it's 3 guys you can point to last night that were really exceptional. Bobby Witt Jr.'s exceptional play is sort of to be expected, but there are some nights that he just reminds you, hey man, I'm the best player out here. I'm the best athlete. I do the most cool stuff. I'm the man. I'm one of the best players in baseball, and tonight is about me. And Bobby Witt Jr. had one of those nights. His 3rd home run of the year, got the Royals on the board in the 4th inning after a slow start offensively, kicked off what ended up being a 4-run 4th that gave the Royals the lead for good. He not only did that, he also robbed Daniel Schneemann of a base hit in the 8th inning with a spectacular diving play, and stole 3rd with a left-handed batter at the plate when it's supposed to be really hard to steal 3rd. He really stole it on the pitcher. The catcher was in no way, Bo Naylor was in no way at fault for that stolen base. That was Bobby reading up Connor Brogdon on the mound and stealing 3rd easily. And that brought the infield in, which meant that Vinny Pasquantino was able to punch a line drive over the outfield, which was a bonus run in the 8th inning, the insurance run that allowed the Royals to stay off of Lucas Erceg and not need to bring him in a save situation. So that ended up being a pretty important run that Bobby really created with his speed, because he reached base on an error on a ground ball hit to deep short, and took 2nd on a wild pitch, stole 3rd easily, and drew the infield in for Vinny to knock it over the infield and score the run. So Bobby was exceptional last night, but when is he not? lot of nights you're going to see those superstar type performances for number 7 of the Royals, but he was everywhere last night. Michael Wacha was really good last night. Royals needed a bounce back outing from Wacha. He'd had 2 rough ones in a row. Not only did he bounce back and pitch extremely well, he was extremely efficient. Needed just 79 pitches to get through his 7th inning, his 7 innings. Would have liked to have seen the Royals maybe give him the 8th, but I understand he got hit a little hard in the 7th. Maybe it was time. But look, with the state of the Royals bullpen being what it is right now, where just not a lot of guys throwing the ball really well back there at present, it's nice to not to have to lean on them for more than 6 outs. I forget who it was that came up with this analogy, but I think it's Max Reaper at Royals Review. It might be Craig Brown. I forget which one, but I've seen them propagate this theory on social media that the more relievers you use in a game, the more relief pitchers you use, it's like a parlay bet. You know, familiar with the parlay bet? Like, some of you degenerates out there, and hey, hand up. I've made a parlay bet or 2 in my time. You stack all those legs of the parlay, right? Like, I got this 5-leg college football parlay. It's all money lines. Just need these 5 teams to win. And I'm going to make some bank, baby. I'm going to turn, I got plus 500 odds. I got plus 1,000 odds on this. I'm going to make some bank on this 6-leg parlay, whatever it is. Well, the more legs of your parlay, the more chances there are for somebody to screw up your parlay, and then you don't make any money, right? So bullpen usage is a little bit like that. Like, the more relievers you have to use, the more you run into the chance that one of those relievers is going to have a bad day. And if one reliever has a bad day, that's going to blow up your lead, blow up your ball game, and make it harder to win. It's a really good analogy. I confess, and I wish I could give proper credit. I got to go find who came up with that. But I had never, 39 years old, watching baseball my whole life, never thought about that in those terms. That it's a little bit like placing a parlay. The more relievers you got to use, the better chance one of them just isn't going to have it. Well, you only need 6 outs. That's probably 2 arms. And surely you can find 2 guys who have it. And the Royals did last night. Matt Strahm, scoreless 8th. Alex Lang worked around a leadoff hit for a clean 9th. So the pitching was really good, even if, oddly, it wasn't, don't miss a lot of bats. You know how important that can be to get strikeouts. Michael Wacha only had 3 strikeouts in 7 innings. That's because the Guardians were doing their whole thing, which is they're going to make contact. Is it going to be good contact? Didn't say that. They're going to make contact. They're going to put the ball in play. And they put a lot of pretty harmless balls in play last night off of Michael Wacha. Good to see him return to his early April form and, again, be able to pick up 7 innings for this struggling bullpen. And the third of last night's stars, like if this were a hockey game, right? If you've seen a hockey game, you know, they do their 3 stars of the night, first star, second star, third star. Other sports should do that. And they should introduce the 3 stars of the night, have them come out for a little curtain call. Who's against this? Why don't more sports do the 3 stars of the night? Why does hockey? I got to go like search the genesis of that. That's never really, again, so many things that I never thought about before I just verbalized them to all of you just now. Why didn't baseball do 3 stars? That ain't be fun. Anyway, if baseball did do 3 stars, your 3 stars last night for the Royals would have been Bobby Witt Jr. and Michael Wacha and Jac Caglianone on his bobblehead night hitting a home run. Would have been cooler if the home run he'd hit had been a grand slam when he came up with the bases loaded, nobody out in the 4th inning. He struck out looking that plate appearance. But later in the game, he slammed his 4th home run of the season. So far this year, Jac Caglianone batting .257 with a .342 on base and a .446 slugging percentage. And that's a far cry from the struggles that he endured for the better part of his rookie campaign in 2025. He is carrying an OPS that is 19 points better than adjusted league average, according to Baseball Reference's OPS plus, a comfortably above average bat. I thought if the Royals could get him to average this year, that would be a good step in the right direction for a 23-year-old in his first full big league season. If they could get him right around average. He's been comfortably above average in the first 35 games this year. That's really encouraging. What's different? What's different about Jac Caglianone this year? Well, for starters, if you saw him if you saw his homer last night, it's a 92-mile-an-hour fastball up in the zone. Now, 92 is not blazing heat, but fastballs up in the zone, tough pitches to handle. You got to get, especially in the modern game where guys are looking to elevate, and certainly Jac's always looking to elevate. Jac was quick to the ball, got all of it, smothered it, hit it over the bullpen in right field. This is part of a season-long trend. Jac Caglianone, after last year struggling against fastballs, is hammering fastballs this year. Remember his home run 2 Sundays ago, his game-tying home run in the 9th inning against the Angels. That was left on left, same pitch, fastball up, inner half of the zone. So far this year, Jac Caglianone is hitting .320 against fastballs and slugging .540. Last year, Cags hit .163 against fastballs and slugged just .272. And of course, that's a part of, he had a really difficult season against everything last year. But this year, he's actually seeing a higher percentage of fastballs than he did last year. So obviously, the book that got out on Cags after his rookie year was he has trouble with fastballs. You can beat him with velocity. You can beat him with heat. And he is starting now to win those battles. When teams adjust, as they will, and start throwing him more off-speed stuff, there are 2 positive trends there. Number one, Jac's also crushing sliders. He's hitting .462 against sliders this year with a .579 slugging percentage. And again, small sample size, 35 games in. It is a small sample size. But last year, Caglianone hit just .097 against sliders and slugged just .194. The biggest vulnerabilities for Caglianone as a rookie last year were fastballs and sliders, and he is doing damage against those pitches. And as teams try to expand the zone on Caglianone, he is striking out a little more than he did last year. He's up around 30% strikeout rate, which that's not real good. That's got to come down. It was 22% last year. But Jac has improved his chase rate, swings outside the strike zone. Last year, 38.5% of the time he saw a pitch outside the strike zone, he was swinging. This year, 30% of the time. And commiserately, he has seen his walk rate increase. That's a team-wide trend. More about that in a little bit. So Jac's hammering fastballs. He's slamming sliders. He's more choosy at the plate. But the batted ball profile is also what's different. Remember we talked last year. Man, Jac's having a bad run of results. Exit velocities are great. Bat speed is elite. But the numbers weren't any good because when you hit the ball straight into the ground, a lot of times it doesn't matter how hard you hit it or how fast you swung your bat. If you hit on the ground, it's probably an out. Well, Cags is doing that less often this year. Last season, he actually hit more ground balls than he did balls in the air. 51% of his batted balls were on the ground compared to just 49% in the air. This year, it's 47% ground balls, 53% balls in the air. And the balls he is hitting in the air, he's doing so with more authority. Last season, he hit pop-ups 5% of the time. 5% of all of his batted ball events straight up the elevator shaft. This year, he's only popping up 1.5% of the time. So he's cut down his pop-ups. And as you can imagine, that also means he's hitting the ball hard more often. His hard hit percentage this year, 54.5% of the time. More often than not, he is hitting the ball hard. That is a 12% increase year over year. I know I just beat you over the head with a whole lot of numbers, but they all add up to this. Jac Caglianone is evolving and maturing and improving as a hitter the way you would want your top prospect, your former first-round pick, and your imagined future middle-of-the-order cornerstone to be improving. And it's not on the back of real unsustainable data. Now, the batting average on balls in play is probably going to come down for Jack a little bit. That has bolstered his average a little bit, the fact that his batting average on balls in play is around 350. But last year's batting average on balls in play was down in the 100s. So he was super unlucky last year. So batting average-wise, he's going to find some equilibrium, but also more balls are going to start to leave the yard. Because that's what always happens when it turns to May and June and July at Kauffman Stadium. And he is getting to that power, not on mistakes. He is beating pitchers on pitches that beat him last year. Add it all up, and, well, it was a good night to have a blazing bat bobblehead night for Jac Caglianone. The improvements are real, and the maturity is real. And it may not be fully formed superstar Jac Caglianone that the 2026 Royals get, but you are seeing some of that linear development you would hope to have seen from a guy in whom the Royals have invested so much. We'll take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. On the other side, we'll get your reaction to last night's game. 785-272-9429 is the number. You can also hop into the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Love to hear from you in the live chat. Later on this hour, the Royals a better on-base team than they have been, and how real is their improvement in that department? We'll debate that a little bit. We're going to talk about the Chiefs wide receiver room. Do they think they can fix it just with what they've got on hand? I think they do, and we'll talk about how realistic that is. Michael Swain's going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We've got a Royals preview for tonight. We got Random Question Tuesday, headlines, what is wrong with you? A jam-packed show today. Really glad you're along for the ride here on 580 Sports Talk. .330 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero hanging out with you. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. Royals winners last night, 6-2. Jac Caglianone, big part of the story with his 4th home run of the season. And a couple of similar thoughts, one from the text line, one from the live chat on YouTube. Tyler in the chat says, more pitches Cags sees, better he is going to be. Does certainly seem to be the path, because last year, the pitches that gave him fits last season are, as I mentioned, the pitches that he's doing the most damage on early on this year. And from the text line for the 785, now if Cags could just play every day and hit in a spot other than 7th. Now, as far as playing every day, you're preaching to the choir on that one. As far as hitting in a spot other than 7th, you get your wish tonight. Cags is into the lineup batting 6th. And look, the reason that he's been batting 7th is because Matt Quatraro, like many managers, like Quatraro's not the only manager that does this or prefers to do this if it's possible, likes to split his lefties and his righties. I think it's a little bit of an antiquated habit because you have the 3-batter rule now. You don't have the situation where, okay, if I bat 3 lefties in a row, that's where the other team is going to deploy their best lefty reliever. At least now, if you have a lefty-lefty situation, that lefty that the other team brings in to face back-to-back left-handers, they're still going to have to deal with a right-handed bat. But the splitting of lefty-righty, lefty-righty, that's kind of been the pattern that the Royals have liked to go with. And part of that has been batting Caglianone 7th because Carter Jensen has been batting 5th. And honestly, I'd flip Jensen and Caglianone. Cag's going a little better than Carter right now, although Jensen did have a strong single to right as part of that 4-run rally in the 4th. Couple of decent at-bats the last couple of days. Trying to come out of a little bit of a mini funk. Again, league adjusting to him. He's making the requisite adjustments back. But Quatraro tonight going Jensen and Cags back-to-back 5 and 6, and also going Michael Massey and Kyle Isbell back-to-back 8 and 9, so not splitting the lefties. And I think part of the reason Quatraro feels emboldened to do this is because he's got right-handed bats off the bench that he trusts right now. Lane Thomas is going well. Nick Lofton had a big hit last night, and he is going well. Starling Marte's average is over 300. He's not giving you a whole lot other than an empty calories batting average right now, but the average is over 300. And so you don't feel like you're handcuffed so much off your bench. You can go and get one of your right-handed bats if it's a really difficult lefty-lefty matchup. Now, I still want to see Cags in there against left-handed relievers. I don't want that to be an auto pinch hit situation. I think that should, depend on the situation. Maybe it depends on the lefty's arm angle. Depends on the left-handed reliever's numbers against lefties. But also, sometimes going to a right-hander is the right call, like it was on Friday night in Seattle when Thomas pinch hit for Cags and drove in the game-winning run. But we are seeing the order not be so dictated by the alternating lefty-righty, and that's allowed Caglianone to move up in the order and commiserately get more at-bats. So I like that. I like that I'm seeing that from Matt Quatraro. Andrew wants to shout out Nick Lofton. 3 for 3 with runners in scoring position in the games he's played. Seems like he might have that clutch gene. Royals obviously have missed that potency with runners in scoring position all season long. That was a big spot for Lofton to come through there in the 4th. They had loaded the bases in a tie game with nobody out. Tanner Bybee was on the ropes. And Caglianone struck out looking. That was a son of a gun of a changeup that Bybee threw Cags. Hip shot changeup to a lefty. Like, you can't really do anything with that. If that's dotted on the inside corner, all you can do if you're a lefty is call the pitcher a nasty name and tip your cap on your way back to the dugout. Like, sometimes you get got. And he threw a really good change to Collins to get him to swing and miss. This is why Tanner Bybee is so frustrating as a long-time, but no longer fantasy owner of Tanner Bybee. Like, the stuff is really good. The stuff can be really, really good. It's just the results haven't been there for Bybee over the years. So he gets back-to-back strikeouts, and you're in danger of letting that opportunity go by the wayside. They needed a 2-out hit. They got it from Lofton. He didn't ball hard. He snuck it through the left side, but put the ball in play. Good things can happen. And Nick Lofton puts it in play. He's only struck out 3 times this year, and he's walked twice as often. So what that tells me is he sees the ball well. He's got a decent idea of the strike zone. And I mean, right now, he's probably got a little bit of an edge, I would think, overall on Michael Massey when it comes to who's going to be the more regular option at second base. It's Massey in the lineup tonight, like I mentioned earlier, against Gavin Williams, tough right-hander. But Lofton's done a nice job, and he's come up in some important at-bats and gotten some big swings. That was a big moment in last night's game that I really didn't mention in the recap of the contest. But, yeah, that broke the tie and won the ball game. And Nick Lofton does deserve a lot of credit for a real quality at-bat. The Bard is in. Got to give Christopher a word. We get a limerick for a win. Well, Waka sure answered the call. After 3, Bybee hit a brick wall. The Tanner Bybee story. Tanks from Bobby and Jack. Even Vinny seems back. Yes, the boys are playing some ball. Yeah, Vinny, you can tell, like, Vinny's kind of fighting the back injury. He just looks a little stiffer. Or maybe I'm imagining things, and that's just how Vinny looks all the time. But, yeah, he very nearly homered following Bobby's home run last night. Rang that double up off the wall. Barely a double. He had to get the piano off his back to get to second base. But then he also drove in Witt late with the RBI single that made it 6-2. He is nearing the Mendoza line. The batting average is nudging up towards the 200 mark as he tries to dig his way out of an April ditch for the second consecutive season. But it's the point we made coming out of the Seattle series is that for this Royals team to be good, starts with starting pitching, but this is a group that needs contributions from up and down the order because you just can't be so reliant. And it worked out 2 years in 2024 because Bobby Witt Jr. was unbelievable. And because the team as a whole hit like 280 with runners in scoring position, just every opportunity they got to score runs, they were cashing them in. Last year, it was a problem that they were too reliant on 3 guys. Even with the Michael Garcia breakout, they were still too reliant on 3 guys. This year's team, ideally, you've got a bit of a deeper lineup. And we've seen that. We've seen guys at the bottom of the order get big hits. Isbell's off to a good start. Lofton with some big hits. Isaac Collins has started to come around the last week or so. Obviously, Caglianone, who's been in that bottom third of the order, is swinging a quality bat. So less reliant on the old formula, the 2024 formula. I probably said these words like 100 times on 580 Sports Talk the summer of 2024. Starter goes deep, big dogs eat. That's the formula. Get 6 or 7 from your starting pitcher, and then the middle of the order contributes the offense because nobody else was on the 2024 team. Well, if it's starter goes deep and everybody eats, that's a more sustainable format or formula for winning more games. And when the Royals have won games, it has been because they've gotten a team effort from the offense. One thing this offense does immediately appear to be better than last year's offense at is getting on base. But some of that is a league-wide trend. So does that mean it's not sustainable, or is there something to the idea that maybe the Royals are better at not making outs this year? We'll discuss that next after this timeout. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk. In the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, Paul writes, every night the Royals score runs, Alex Zumwalt's pink slip goes back in the desk drawer, which may not be a good thing. Boy, Alex Zumwalt, haven't heard that name in a couple of weeks. This is the Baltimore series. We've heard Alex Zumwalt's name, seen that name in the chat room, seen that name in the text line. It's not a mistake because over the last 13 games, Royals have found some offense. David Lesky, friend of the program, writer of the Inside the Crown newsletter, laid out the stats. Over the course of the last 13 games, the Royals are 5th in all of baseball in batting average, 4th in on-base percentage, 6th in slug, and 3rd in runs per game. Been a pretty good couple of weeks for the Royals at the plate. And, you know, you've got to obviously consider competition level. Baltimore's pitching staff, not real good. Angels pitching staff, not real good. Sacramento pitching staff, not real good. Seattle pitching staff, very good. Royals scored enough runs there to sweep. And now they face a Cleveland staff that is, it's better than Baltimore's and Los Angeles's and Sacramento's. They'll get a good test tonight against Gavin Williams. Williams will be as good a starter as they faced the last 2 weeks. He was really good against the Royals the first time he saw them earlier this year. He was wild, a lot of walks, but also has strikeout capability. So we'll see how patient the Royals are tonight. And it will be a good litmus test as to just how real the team's improvement is when it comes to getting on base. The Royals' team on base percentage going into tonight is .319. And I know that, like, on its face, hey, that doesn't sound real good. .319 on base percentage, that's, as a team, that's not awesome. League average is .322. So they're just off a league average, just a hair off of league average at getting on base. And one of the reasons for this is that the Royals have a league average, an exactly on league average, 9.5% walk rate. So they're walking in 9.5% of their at-bats as a team. And again, that doesn't sound spectacular until you realize that that is right at league average. Now, walk rate is up everywhere. This is a knock-on effect of the new ABS rules, right? Like, the strike zone is being called differently, and walks are up all across the league. When I say the strike zone is being called differently, what you're hearing from players, managers, is it's being called tighter. And more pitches that might have been, you know, your 3-0 count, you get an auto strike. Yeah, it's a couple inches off the plate, but whatever. We'll get a strike, we'll get the pitcher back in the at-bat, keep the game moving a little bit. You don't have that with the ABS challenge, because if an umpire does call that, the batter can just tap his helmet, and then 5 seconds later, they're jogging down to first. So walks are up league-wide. Last year's league average walk percentage was 8.4%. So the league is walking in more than 1% more of their at-bats this season. The Royals last year, though, as a team, they were not even remotely near the league average at drawing walks. They had a 7.2% walk rate last year. Only the Colorado Rockies were worse. And they don't call them the Colorado Walkies. Let's just say that. That's a terrible joke. I apologize. You'll be refunded at the end of the show. So the Royals have increased their walk rate by over 2%. Last year, league average on-base percentage, 7 points lower than it currently is, .315. Royals had a below-average on-base percentage. They got on base at a .309 clip last year. But remember, it was a tale of two seasons for the Royals offense last year, because April, May, and most of June, they were stinky. And then in the second half is when they started going a lot better. And they added Mike Yastrzemski, and they added Adam Frazier, and those guys helped out the offense a little bit. Randall Grichuk was a help for like a week. He turned up last night. I was watching the end of Angels White Sox. He's with the White Sox now. The Yankees have already cut him. He's already on his second team this year. A lot of guys out there. That's actually kind of a common theme. A lot of guys that Royals fans were like, man, we got to go get this guy this offseason. Really slow starts. Jarren Duran homered yesterday. It was a help because that home run helped beat the Tigers, but he's off to a miserable start. Mike Yastrzemski's off to a terrible start in Atlanta. Who else is Cedric Mullins off to a terrible start in Tampa Bay. A lot of outfielders that the Royals were assumed to be like in on or targeting, not performing as well as even Isaac Collins. And that's not to say Collins has been going great guns, but he's been doing better than some of the guys the Royals were rumored to be more interested in. But anyway, it was a tale of 2 years, a little bit, 2 halves last year for the Royals offense. And the second half dragged their on-base percentage, the team up to 309, all the way up to 6 points worse than league average. Through this point in time last year, 35 games in, the Royals team on-base percentage was 297. 297. And their walk rate, interestingly enough, as a team, was the exact same that they finished the year with, 7.2%, which tells you that walk rate tends to be, and this is widely assumed to be largely true, walk rate tends to be pretty stable as the year goes on. Like, you don't have big fluctuations in your walk percentage as a team. So what the Royals are doing right now when it comes to drawing free passes and doing so at a league average rate, which has never been a strength of any Royals offense, basically ever. Basically in the history of the organization, this has never been a team that has a bunch of guys happy to stand and watch ball for. But this group being league average at it, that looks like that can sustain, because the numbers you see in early May tend to be the numbers that you see for the better part of the season. And it's also encouraging to note that there are 2 guys who you would expect to have better on-base percentages for the Royals right now, like dramatically better on-base percentages, who really haven't gotten going yet. Michael Garcia and Vinny Pasquantino. And I think that bodes very well for this Royals offense to, if not be elite, that's a stretch. Like, we had talked before the year, Saris of The Athletic had some bold predictions, and he said, could the Royals be a top 10 offense? And we talked about that because, we needed some content. It was spring training. I don't think this is a top 10 offense in the league unless the ball really starts to jump off the bats of Bobby Witt Jr. and Jac Caglianone and Vinny Pasquantino. And hey, look, it could. Those guys hit the ball hard. If we see a commiserate power spike, then that on-base percentage is going to matter more because there'll be more guys on base when the ball leaves the yard. You're scoring more runs. But even if this isn't like an elite offense, I think we could be talking about the Royals having a decent offense. Decent would have made the playoffs last year for the Royals. Decent, given the level of starting pitching the Royals have gotten this year, can take them a long way. And again, I think what's most encouraging is the good performances they have gotten and the good stretch that they're in the last 13 days has not been so heavily influenced by the team's best players that it doesn't have to be Bobby, Vinny, Salvi, or even Michael Garcia, or it's nobody. This feels like a deeper offense. This feels like one that is better at avoiding making outs than they have been even the last couple of years. And that should get it back to a level that gives it a chance to be competitive, gives the team a chance to be competitive. We'll take one more time out this hour. We'll come back. We'll get a little bit more listener reaction. We'll wrap up hour number 1 and set the table for hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk. 3:53 on 580 Sports Talk. Amidst the fun of last night's 6-2 win, routine win for the Royals. Like, those are routine wins. You're not really sweating the final outs. Maybe a little bit. Alex Lang has not been spectacular this year. Maybe you didn't feel super comfortable to give up that leadoff hit and think, oh boy. But he got the double play from Hoskins, and whatever sweat you had was short-lived. Amidst the good time the Royals were having last night was this that Mark points out. Vinny Pasquantino stole a base last night. Listen, Vinny Pasquantino has never been caught stealing. Never. That's a true fact. Vinny Pasquantino has never been caught stealing. He's 4 for 4. Picks his spots. 4 for 4 in his career stealing bases. Royals Review posted to social media the complete list of the most stolen bases without being caught in Royals history. And if you remember the Royals career of the all-time career leader in this category, you're a real sicko. I was covering the Royals in 2013. I was doing sports talk radio in Wichita back then. That was a good team. That was the prelude to the pennant winners in 2013. I think they won 86 games that year. It was a good club. I did not remember Elliott Johnson. Hand up. No memory of Elliott Johnson. And why would you remember a guy who hit 179 in 79 games and got dispatched and ended up finishing the year with Atlanta, and his career was over after 7 games with Cleveland in 2014. But Elliott Johnson in 2013, 14 for 14 stealing bases. So he's got the record. Most stolen bases in a Royals career without ever being caught stealing. That's a great stat. Also on the list, Alex Rios. Was he on the... Yeah, he was on the 2015 team, right? Like, I hope I don't have my pennant winners backwards. But Alex Rios was on the championship team. I'm pretty certain. 9 for 9 in his Royals career stealing bases. Samad Taylor. Where's he kicking around with these days? Samad Taylor was up with the team last year, maybe the year before. 8 for 8 in his career. Jermaine Allensworth. There's a name. That's early 2000s. Former Pirate. He was 7 for 7 stealing bases as a Royal. And who could forget the great Pedro Siriaco, pennant winner, 2014, was on that team for 25 games. Pedro Siriaco, 5 for 5 in his Royals career stealing bases. And then you get to Vinny, 4 for 4. Never been caught. I bet Vinny get a kick out of that stat, too. Guarantee he would find that to be amusing. We're going to talk some Chiefs and some Jayhawks coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. I'm starting to feel like the Chiefs think they can fix or improve their wide receiver room entirely internally with a mix of 3 factors, because it's the only thing that makes their lack of activity with regard to that position so far this year make sense. So we'll talk about that, whether or not they're right or should think that they are right to believe that the fixes for what is a well below average wide receiver room on paper can be made internally. We'll also talk Jayhawks with Michael Swain, Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly. We'll have him in, talk about the latest from the transfer portal for basketball and some football spring practice final tidbits as well. We've also got What Is Wrong With You coming up. So hang with us. The 4 o'clock hour is coming up next after this news break. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday. So glad you're with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and WIBW News on Facebook. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Royals Baseball Network takes it from there. Royals and Guardians, game 2 of their 4-game series at Kauffman Stadium. Royals trying to keep it rolling. They have tied a season-long winning streak with 4 after last night's 6-2 win, trying to make it 5 straight dubs. 6:40, first pitch tonight from the K. You can hear it all right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 if you're close enough in range to catch the FM translator as well. Coming up in this hour of Sports Talk, we're going to talk a little Chiefs, talk about their wide receiver room. It's not good on paper. Flatly, it isn't. It wasn't good on paper in 2023, and they won the Super Bowl. So how much does it really matter is an open question, but at the same time, do the Chiefs believe that they've got the tools to get the best out of the currently assembled wide receiver? I guess that's not really the question. They must believe that based on what they've done to add to, or what they haven't done to add to the wide receiver room yet. But are they right? Is it a gamble worth making? We'll discuss and debate. We've also got What Is Wrong With You coming up. And Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael Swain will join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll get some final notes from the end of spring football camp and some thoughts as well on where Kansas goes from here basketball roster-wise as they continue to look for some more experience to add to their roster, flesh out their rotation after the commitment 1 week ago of Tyron Stokes. So that's all coming up this hour, plus your text, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Great place to interact with your fellow listeners and just kind of hang out during the show. That's sort of what it is. Like, you're more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to react to what it is that we say, but you're also more than welcome to just kind of hang out and chat amongst yourselves and have a good time together. It's 580 Sports Talk community, and we really think it's cool how it has grown with so many of you. The topic, I'm also always fascinated what you guys get up to talking about while we go dark. Well, you don't go dark, but we have the title card up between hours so that we can, like, you're not looking at empty chairs, right? You can go, refill our water bottles or just kind of stretch our legs a little bit so that you're not looking at, if you're on the YouTube stream, empty chairs. When we put up a title card that previews the next hour, and sometimes it's fun to see what you guys get up to in the live chat. Looks like the topic was wiffle ball. Vance and our pal McFly talking about wiffle ball back in the day. Were you a big wiffle ball player in the backyard, Spencer, back in the day?
Oh, yeah. We used to play it with my group of friends.
Whose yard?
It depended. We would sometimes do it in the street in a little cul-de-sac.
Okay. Yeah, we lived in a cul-de-sac too growing up.
I had one. It was kind of in the middle of so I lived on a road, like it's hard, like an outer road, and then there was the
road across from the cul-de-sac. Sure.
Yeah.
So
or we'd go down. There's a gas line. They called it the gas line. It was where all the gas lines were running. It was just big empty field because you can't run anything. So one of our friends, his backyard ran up to that, so we would sometimes just run out and play it in there. We did backyard golf.
Oh, wow.
Because one guy, his dad loved golf, that he put a little putting green in his backyard. So we did like backyard putt.
So we had the go-to yard in the neighborhood where I grew up as a little kid, to the point where I was the youngest kid on the block, and all the older kids want to come and play in our backyard because it was the biggest yard. And my parents had a stipulation. You had to include me. And I was like 4 or 5 years old. They were like literal teenagers back there. Kids are in 6th grade, 5th grade. And they were great. They were great. Like, I remember having a really good time with the older boys and playing wiffle ball and football and things like that. We had a good time. We play in the backyard. So we were on the cul-de-sac. We were on the end of the cul-de-sac. So our yard back to the street, and then you had the row of houses that was across the street from us, and back to them was a creek. There was like a running path and a creek, bike path, and the whole thing. So one time I was playing backyard wiffle ball. My uncle was over, my dad's brother. And I was talking a little trash about how I was going to strike him out. I had this ball. It had like the globe on it. It was like a little, it was a ball. It had, the world basically on it. This little world ball. And I said I was going to strike out my uncle, and I threw him, I don't know, tried to throw him a crappy little like 7-year-old knuckleball. And when I tell you, we never saw that ball again. My uncle hit it over the fence, over the road, over the house across the street, and down probably towards the creek.
Wow.
I didn't know you could hit. It wasn't like a real hard ball either. It was kind of soft, kind of had some give to it. It wasn't like one of those those foam balls that are kind of solid.
Yeah.
And he hit it to the creek. We never saw that ball again.
We had like phases of stuff. We had that mini golf phase. We had the wiffle ball phase. We had the football phase, which we would also play on that gas line area because obviously it was just a big straight field. We also had a kickball era.
Sure.
We had a road hockey era.
Yeah.
We had the bike
era.
Oh yeah,
we did the hockey thing.
We lived in the eras of whatever we wanted to do this section of the year, and then it would just like rotate.
We had the street hockey. When I was 10, that was when when the Avalanche came to Denver. So hockey exploded.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everybody was into hockey. Everybody wanted rollerblades so they could play like outdoor hockey. So I was in on that too. I saved my allowance and bought the goalie gear. I had the pads. I had like I didn't buy the real glove, but I had like the goalie stick, and I strapped up. I played goal. I loved that. I wanted to be Patrick Waugh out there in the streets. So, but no, that was very seasonal. That kind of blew up when I was about 10, 11 years old because the Avalanche came to town and started winning right away. But yeah, wiffle ball, good memories. That now my kiddo's got a tee and a bunch of different color wiffle balls, and he'll just grab a ball, put it up there, and then just kind of fling the bat around and make some contact. And then once he hits it off of there, he goes and gets another one and identifies what color ball he's got, and then he hits it and he goes, "Yay!" And we all get excited. So I'm looking forward to having a wiffle ball buddy here in a few years. Son's not yet 2; he'll be 2 in about a month. So I got a couple of years yet, but I'm looking forward to having another wiffle ball buddy here in the coming years. Anyhow.
Back to your regularly scheduled program. We appreciate the diversion. Let's talk some football. Tough to go from wiffle ball to football, but we're going to do it. So we talked yesterday about Chad O'Shea, not Connor Shea. I don't know who the hell that is. We talked about Chad O'Shea, the new wide receivers coach for the Chiefs, and how it appears that he's going to be much more hands-on, much more instructional. And on the one hand, like obviously that's what you're going to see at rookie camp. Obviously, you do more coaching guys up when they're rookies than you do if they're, established veterans. But obviously, it's a different voice and it's a different technique coming from the coach in charge of the wide receiver room. And that's in tandem with all of the other changes that the Chiefs made on the offensive side of the coaching staff. We also know that the Chiefs did not meaningfully address the wide receiver position this offseason, or more accurately, have not yet meaningfully addressed the wide receiver position. They brought Tyquan Thornton back. I think most people were in favor of. I've certainly understand the logic. I think there's sound logic behind making that move. But the Chiefs didn't draft a wide receiver until the 5th round, when some people thought they could do that with the number 9 overall pick. They waited till the 5th round to draft Cyrus Allen. And they invited a ton of pass catchers, tooled up pass catchers to rookie camp. Guys with really outstanding physical traits, but also guys who didn't get drafted despite those really outstanding physical traits. The Jeff Caldwells of the world, Xavier Lloyd, guys like that. So a bunch of those guys are hanging around rookie camp and hanging around as UDFA is going to be part of the 90-man roster. But right now, your depth chart at wide receivers, Rashee Rice,
Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Royals is your number 4 wide receiver. We don't know if he's an NFL player yet. Never really got the chance to prove that he was last year. And if a 4th round pick didn't get the chance to prove he was an NFL player in his rookie year last year, why would a 5th round pick this year be any different? Why would things be any different for Cyrus Allen? He's wide receiver 5 right now, because after that you get to Nico Remigio, who the Chiefs, I think, pretty clearly do not trust to play offense. And then after that, it's Jason Brownlee, and then it's the host of practice squad guys back from last year, and then the UDFAs and the rookie camp guys who might sign to the 90. That's your wide receiver room. It's not good. It's pretty easily in the bottom half. I'd say pretty easily in the bottom 10 of the league. And there are major questions about reliability and durability for each of the top 3. And if one of those guys, Rice, Worthy, or Thornton, were to go down injured, the next man up as it currently stands does not have meaningful NFL experience. And that would be one thing if we were talking about Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson as your new rookie wide receiver. But no, we're talking about Cyrus Allen. So right now, it feels as though the Chiefs are betting on 3 things to re-energize the passing attack in 2026. Number 1 is internal development. They think with a different voice in that wide receiver room that they can get better football out of the guys they've already got. And that Rashee Rice, a year removed from both a suspension and the ACL injury, another year removed from the ACL injury, will be physically more prepared and ready. That Xavier Worthy will be physically in a better spot after he never got healthy last year. That Tyquan Thornton can shake off injury concerns that have dogged him. And that those guys all have another level as players to get to. And on an individual level, maybe that does happen for one of those guys, maybe even 2 of those guys. All 3? Are you hitting on that particular parlay? That's a gamble. Here's number 2. A swift return from a Patrick Mahomes we all recognize. That the Chiefs believe that when Mahomes does return, 1, it will be sooner rather than later. He won't miss a lot of football in 2026, which seems by the day like a decent bet to make. But also that Mahomes will return just as we remember him. That there will not be a need to ease him back in, that there won't be ring rust or anything like that, that he's going to be as we remember him. And then the third thing I think they are betting on re-energizing the passing attack is a renewed running game threat. That the presence of Kenneth Walker in the backfield and the ability for the Chiefs to turn to a game breaker at the running back spot rather than just roster filler, which is what they had last year, will open up the field and allow these wide receivers, all of whom have, to a point where I think it's a problem, very similar skill sets. There will be more room in which they can operate and make the kinds of plays they are capable of making. 3 big bets, Spencer. Do you think those are reasonable bets to make, or do you think the Chiefs might be maybe a little high on their own supply here?
I think they're a little high on their own supply. Look, like, I don't know, man. But I don't know, because they've done better with they've achieved greatness with probably
with mid at wide receiver, right?
So it's hard to say like no, but yes. I don't know, but that's also when you had a younger Travis Kelce.
Yes, you had a better version of Travis Kelce in 2023 when your wide receiver room was rookie Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, MVS, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney.
You brought back
McCole Hardman, Richie James for 9 games. Yeah. Nobody had more outside of Rashee Rice. No wide receiver on that team caught more than 27 passes. No wide receiver caught more than 27 passes in 2023. That's exactly how many Justin Watson and Kadarius Toney caught. And Toney's 27 catches went for 6 yards per reception.
This is my hypothesis. This is a long-term hypothesis.
Okay.
That's not really one because I don't have an if and a then statement, but whatever. I think down the line, if you want Patrick Mahomes to still be successful when he's into the other side of his 30s, right? When he's 33, 34, 36, you're going to have better talent at wide receiver.
So I think you're right. Like, we saw it with the one point of the argument is you point to the 2023 roster. And Tyler in the YouTube chat says, if you have the best quarterback, do you need great wide receivers? The flip side of the argument is the second half of Aaron Rodgers' career in Green Bay before he wound up with Davante Adams. Right? Yeah. And then the portion of the career after he had Davante Adams, where he played really well. But it always helps to have guys who are matchup problems, who are game breakers at that position, because then when you have the great quarterback who can get them the ball more often, that's more chances for them to make a big impact on the game. So it might be, and I think there might be something to this idea of yours, Spencer, and I've seen this around, and gosh, I think we saw it in the chat yesterday when we were talking a little bit about this. The thought that, no, actually, it was on the text line, and it's sitting right here from yesterday. And so thank you to the texter from the 785. I thought it might have been the text line. I scrolled and I found it. That there might be a 2-year plan in place to rebuild the talent level of the roster as a whole, and that this year they decided to focus on the defense, and that next year they will go grab the wide receiver and get back to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
So, I understand that line of thinking. I do. I also think that if you've got a multi-year plan to get back to the top, I don't know. In the NFL, I don't think it's real wise to plan much more than a year out at a time. I don't know that you could take it for granted like that, but it is also clear that this offseason, they have not, to this point, chosen to meaningfully address wide receiver, and that Mahomes can make it go, that better coaching potentially can increase the productivity of your top guys, and that maybe this team is going to lean even heavier on the running game to open up the passing game a little bit this year. And we don't talk about Travis Kelce in this context. We probably should include him in the conversation, because he's still tight end number one. He still has the mind meld with Mahomes, and we saw last year he could still play. He's not going to do the prime Travis Kelce stuff that made him a Hall of Famer, but can he be an above average tight end production wise? Absolutely. If it were anybody else running around, if it was a guy named Travis Jones who was running around at tight end last year for the Chiefs and who posted the numbers that Kelce posted, 76 catches, 851 yards, 5 touchdowns, you'd say, hey, that's pretty good. We're happy to have that at tight end. It's just the bar's so astronomically high when you're talking about a Hall of Famer who's had the kind of individual seasons that Kelce has had. But his ability to produce as an acceptable tight end number one does help the pass catching group, does mean you ask a little bit less probably of your wide receivers, but you still need some depth at the spot. That's where it gets scary for me. That's the part where I worry about this. You want to tell me that Rashee Rice can be better in 2026? Sure, I'll listen to that argument. A year further out from the ACL. A lot of times it takes guys 2 years out of that ACL injury to really get back to themselves. And then he doesn't have the suspension hanging over his head. For now, there's no league investigation hanging over his head. You want to tell me Rashee Rice can get back to 2023 form? Sure, I listen to that argument. You want to tell me we haven't seen the best of Xavier Worthy? Boy, I hope that's true, given what they invested in him. But I can listen. I can understand that argument. You want to tell me Tyquan Thornton can thrive in this offense in his role and be the deep target for Patrick Mahomes, that for whatever reason Mahomes hasn't had the same rapport with other guys in that role? Okay, I'm listening. But you got to hit Yahtzee on all three of those, and they can't get hurt. because the next man up is Jalen Royals, who I remind you last year caught 2 passes in 7 games for 4 yards. That is the sum total of his NFL production. Nico Remigio's NFL career. Do you know how many catches Nico Remigio has in his NFL career? Do you want to guess? You want to guess what the number is?
Is it 1?
It is more than 1.
Is it 3?
It is 3.
Yeah.
It is precisely 3. 2 in 2024 and 1 last year. And then Cyrus Allen's a rookie. And Jason Brownlee's a practice squad guy. And Jeff Caldwell might be a freak, but there's a reason nobody drafted him, right? So you are banking on internal improvement, and that is fine. But banking on health is where it makes my teeth itch. Banking on all 3 of those guys to be on the field for all 17 games, that's where I get worried, because there is a cataclysmic drop-off in talent behind those 3. That's my biggest concern. From the 785, don't turn Mahomes into Dan Marino. Keep the talent around him as high as you can afford. Well, the nice thing about that conversation is Mahomes already isn't Marino because he's got 3 rings. Marino didn't get a single one of those suckers. So that's the nice thing. Mahomes will never be Dan Marino. You already got the better outcome there. But, yeah, I think that you've got to get him long-term a number 1 wide receiver. And we know Rashee Rice isn't that. Like, if Rashee Rice is on the Chiefs in 2027, I'll plot. It'd be unbelievable to me if that's the route the Chiefs go. I would be shocked. And everybody around the league who knows things would be shocked by that too. So who's going to be the Devontae Adams? Because that was what re-energized Aaron Rodgers back into his career, was he got Devontae Adams. Yeah. Who's going to be Mahomes' Devontae Adams? Don't think we know yet. Don't think he's on the team yet. Don't think the Chiefs are inclined to go get that player this year. Probably can't anyway. We'll take a break. We'll come back with a little What Is Wrong With You to continue this second hour. Then Michael Swain will join us for Jayhawk Weekly. That's coming up. 580 Sports Talk. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. We've got 2 news stories competing today. Try and take down our weekly champion, Deuce TF. The gentleman in North Carolina who claimed he had no idea that he was making a vulgar phrase happen on his North Carolina Tennis Foundation license plate. Already had the letters TF on it for Tennis Foundation. That's how they make the license plates. Their guy, Martin Schramm, thought he would put the letter D as the only thing on his custom license plate because he said D is short for deuce, a common tennis term. That, of course, made the license plate read DTF, which, if you don't know, we can't exactly say the actual definition of that on the radio. But,
Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary is your friend there. Anyway, yeah, he ended up with a DTF license plate that at first the DMV thought was cool. And, you know, Brendan and I were talking about this off the air. You know who really gets a what is wrong with you here? Whoever calls the DMV to complain about somebody else's license plate.
Yeah. That's a Karen.
It is kind of a Karen-y move, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw one once that it was like Mom H2O S. Like Mom H2O, like Mom Water, and then S at the end. And I, at first, read the 2 and the 0 backwards. I thought it said Mom 2 HOS. And that would have been something that might have maybe made me call the DMV and say, hey, that's a wild license plate. Why would that mother say that about herself? But anyway, yeah. The DTF license plate is our current champion on What Is Wrong With You. I'm going to go first today. We're going to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Specifically, the Hampton Inn on Port Walk Place, where around 4 a.m. early Saturday, guests were jolted awake by vulgar language through an emergency intercom system. According to hotel staff, a person broke into a locked intercom panel in a separate part of the facility and delivered a vulgar message that was heard throughout the hotel and an attached apartment complex. Staff says the individual accessed the building through a hallway kept unlocked for police and fire personnel. Then they broke open the panel, which is usually locked. Police say they suspect the person was under the influence at the time. Great variation on the theme. Detectives believe alcohol was involved. One anonymous hotel guest was staying at the Hampton Inn for his birthday weekend. He didn't know what was happening when the alert sounded. He thought it was his cell phone going off or Facebook, something like that. After the initial alert, guests say they heard a male voice with very homophobic and threatening language. Some visitors, including one guest who was staying for his birthday weekend, say they want a refund of their entire stay. Hotel staff say the security of neither the hotel nor the apartment building was ever compromised, and they add increased safety protocols will remain in the area for the foreseeable future. No arrests have been made, and there is no ongoing threat to the public. Not that I would assume that there would be. We don't know what the homophobic and threatening vulgar message was. We can only imagine. But, yeah, that would be a little disconcerting. 4 a.m. in the hotel.
Yeah.
And somebody's broadcasting vulgarity to the entire hotel. I don't know that I think I'm going to get a full refund, but, like, I don't know. Like maybe a voucher for another stay, another time, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what's appropriate to make those guests right. But, yeah, that would scare me, too. What's your story today?
Imagine you were trying to elude the police because you were wearing a bunny helmet as a motorcyclist. A Florida man wearing an unusual motorcycle helmet is accused of leading police on a chase which allegedly reached speeds of 120 miles per hour as he attempted to out-hop authorities. The incident unfolded just after 11 p.m. on Sunday when authorities with the Florida Highway Patrol were led on a high-speed pursuit by a motorcyclist wearing a bunny helmet along U.S. Route 19.
We're going to show this on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, if you want to check out the helmet.
In Pasco County, troopers reportedly noticed the motorcycle moving at a high rate of speed and weaving in and out of traffic with his license plate flipped upward. After the motorcyclist allegedly failed to pull over for a traffic stop, authorities launched a pursuit. The driver, later identified as 29-year-old Dalton Hubert, allegedly led the police on a dangerous chase in which he reached speeds of up to 120 miles per hour and ran red lights. The pursuit came to an end shortly before 11:30 when he reportedly pulled over and surrendered to authorities. Again, yes, you can see him in the fuzzy white bunny.
Quite a helmet. It looks like what's Ralphie's bunny costume in A Christmas Story.
Yeah. He was taken to Pasco County, faced charges of reckless driving, felony fleeing, and eluding law enforcement, driving more than 50 miles per hour over the speed limit, which I believe is a new law in Florida as of this year, and use and display of a weapon during commission of a felony.
Vance in the YouTube chat says he needed a hair more speed. Yeah, I guess he did. Yeah, you can't really look cool. Even doing 120 on a motorcycle, you can't look cool in the bunny helmet. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. So we got that guy, and we've got the guy who broke into the intercom at the hotel. McFly, welcome to the hotel, homophobic. It fits the rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
All right, who we got today?
I don't know. That's just kind of hard.
Yeah, like I think the what is wrong with you maybe more fits a guy who like broke into the intercom at a random hotel just to like yell at the people in the hotel and the apartment complex, ruin their morning. That's crazy. I don't think that beats Deuce TF.
No,
I think the license plate is going to remain our current champion on what is wrong with you. When we come back, it's Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain of 5.net here on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, where he covers the Kansas Jayhawks. He appears with us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. And Michael, it really seems as though the transfer portal in men's college basketball has just about slowed to a crawl. So with that context, are you surprised that Kansas hasn't been able to add that last rotation piece or rotation pieces that they might be looking for to fill out their 2026-27 roster? Or is this just sort of a reflection of where this class of players in the portal is maybe just moving a little slower this time around?
Yeah, I'm not really super surprised. And here's why. You can look at the types of players, right, that K's been involved with. The Victorious Miller from Oklahoma State, for example, or Bashir from K-State, guys like that. So theoretically, from their perspective, right, they can know what KU's offering and the role that's on hand. There are also some other teams that are probably waiting to see what maybe happens with the NBA draft, that people withdraw or are still looking maybe for some fringe level starters. You know, obviously a lot of this comes down to money, but also guys want to have big roles, and maybe someone's holding out to say, well, maybe I can get a guarantee of 25 minutes compared to a 15-minute role or whatever that you may have at a school like KU. So it's a little bit of, who moves first a little bit with the way this is going right now. So I'm not super surprised, and this is kind of the last real roster spot, and I don't think that KU wants to go in and just take someone and then have it be the wrong fit, for example. I think they're trying to find the right person for it. The market isn't exactly moving super fast right now, so I think kind of everyone is a little bit, kind of waiting their time to see kind of what unfolds over the next week or two.
The two most noteworthy names that have been connected to Kansas in the process that are still out there uncommitted, former Oklahoma State wing Victorious Miller and former Kansas State wing Abdi Bashir. Is Kansas still involved in the process of pursuit of those two players, or is maybe they're not mutual interest in those parties anymore?
Yeah, I'm not as convinced on Miller. I think things kind of cooled off after the visit. I think that, at least from what I had heard, there was some kind of, at least from Miller's side, some positive indications of, hey, what's the money look like? There's interest in going to KU. I'm not necessarily certain that KU was totally all in on him being the guy. Now, obviously, things change, and so maybe KU circles back eventually. But at least for right now, I think KU's interest there has definitely cooled off a lot. I think the interest in Bashir is maybe a little bit more current. You're looking at someone that shot 44% from three, a career 40% three-point shooter. So even if you want to try and play, the game of, well, he didn't really play a full Big 12 season and, this and the other thing, you can just look at his college career, right? 40% three-point shooter, that's pretty valuable. So, yeah, those are two of the names. There's some other stuff I'm tracking right now to kind of see where maybe KU could go outside of those two names. If they decide to go that route, like I said, KU's kind of being patient. So I'm not going to rule out another pivot because we've seen it before. So, but yeah, those are kind of the two that have been linked to KU. I would say that Bashir feels more likely than Miller right now, but again, we'll kind of have to see how things continue to evolve.
The Jayhawks did get a high school commitment from Grant Mordini, prep school big man. And when the comment in the press release from Bill Self explicitly mentions making us better in practice, you kind of have an idea of what the expectations are for Mordini coming into the program. Is this a little bit like the Corbin Allen commitment from last year where, hey, maybe there's a chance this player likes it here, likes being part of the program. Maybe there's something we can unlock. Maybe something hits and you have a program player, rotation guy. And if not, hey, thanks for a year of helping us in practice and help you get to a level maybe you can play a little bit more at. Are there some similarities there just in terms of the process?
Yeah, I think that it's very similar. Very similar. I think, it's funny you mentioned the practice bit. I think it was Giangallo last August, was the first time that I had seen the practice thing get mentioned in a press release from Bill Self. And that was one of those, and I think he said it again in a press conference too. And it was like, this is very clear what this edition is. So yeah, I think it's very similar to that. Look, this is very much kind of roster cap management. If you have a budget, you're going to go try and find the most cost effective ways to fill the back end of the roster when you know that those guys are not going to be ones that are going to really get chances to play in Big 12 play. So you got to find cost-effective ways to do it. Obviously, Mordini is someone that KU, I think, started recruiting like at the end of last year a little bit, kind of had some interest in him and kind of kept things warm until the spring when they were ready to move. So one of those where, it's not picking a name out of a hat. KU's looked at him for a while and kind of, spent some time recruiting him. So they feel pretty good, I think, about kind of the fit and being able to come in and know what you're getting into, right? Because when you're signing up for this role, when it comes to January, February, or even November, right, you're not playing unless it's a big time blowout and you're getting some end of the game minutes. So I think you got to make sure you got the right player that is okay with that. But I think that this is kind of a position that's going to be high churn in the long run because at the end of the day, these guys only have 4 years to play. Eventually it'll be 5. But right now, 4 years to play. And so even after a redshirt year, these guys are going to want to go play. So I think it's just consistently going to be a high churn spot as long as the kind of the current roster rules are in place.
Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. This is Jayhawk Weekly. We do it every Tuesday at this time. Michael, we didn't really get to do much wrap-up on spring football as spring practice wrapped up because we were ourselves wrapped up in the Tyron Stokes recruitment and commitment, particularly last week. But now that spring practice is in the books, I want to double back to football a little bit. Cole Ballard seems to be right now the favorite, such as it is, to be the starting quarterback for the Jayhawks in the fall. Is that more a safe play for the offense for Lance Leipold, or is there maybe some upside there with Ballard, who's a little bit older, been around more, has some playing experience? Is there maybe a level they think in an Andy Kotelnicki offense that maybe he can reach as a starter that we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, so I think with Cole right now, and look, it's a competition that's going to go to the fall, but yeah, I do think Cole probably has the edge right now. What goes into that? It's command of the offense. Like, I think right now, Cole Ballard will be a captain. I think almost maybe even regardless of what happens in the quarterback battle, right? That's how highly regarded he is amongst his players and his teammates. Like, that's not a decision that comes from Lance Leipold. That's players voting, and I think if the vote was held at the end of spring, Cole's a captain. So I think that is something that you have to factor in, right? Command of the offense, command of the room. That is something that's important. In terms of ability, right? Can you make all the throws? I think he's improved his arm strength. That's something that I've seen in practice. Consistency in practice, I think, is probably better than Isaiah Marshall, at least during the spring. But it's one of those where I think you can look at either quarterback, really, and I'm not going to factor Chase Jenkins in right now just because he didn't really do a whole lot. But if you want to go with the guy that's a hyper athlete and maybe he's going to have a little more peaks and valleys as a passer, that's Isaiah. If you want to go with the guy that I think maybe can be a little bit more consistent of a passer, but maybe isn't the athlete, right? That's Cole. There's no perfect option here. If there was a perfect option, I think K would already have named the starting quarterback, but that's not the situation that they're in right now. So I think if Cole is your starter, you're looking at it and saying, okay, can you be a game manager gets a negative rap, but there are a lot of very good college quarterbacks who are game managers, right? Who know how to run the offense, who know how to make the right reads and the right decisions and keep the ball out of jeopardy. And I think that's kind of what you're looking at and saying, okay, what's the best case scenario for Cole? I think that is what I look at and feel is the case.
If there were a position either side of the ball where you left spring practice feeling like, wow, Kansas really has experienced a talent improvement, an infusion of ability at this position relative to last season, what would that position or those positions be?
Yeah, I think running back comes to mind first and foremost. You had two very solid college football running backs in Lee Shawn and Daniel Highshaw last year. But KU just lacked explosiveness on the ground in the run game. And you add Dylan Edwards, man, he's got that and then some. So that's one part of it, right? You've got the explosiveness there. Well, then you've also got someone like Yashin Willis who's got the physicality that, you look at the last year's running backs that they had. So I like that as a top two tandem. Then you can look at Corey Mockery, right? One of the big stock risers from spring, a true freshman who really had impressed and I think is going to have the chance to play this fall as a reserve running back. And then you got Jalen Dupree coming from Colorado State who did not participate in the spring due to an offseason surgery, but he's one that still, you look at the tape last year from Colorado State, he's got a physical build. He's a one cut and go running back. And so top to bottom, like that's a room that you got four guys who, if they take a carry in a Big 12 game right now, I wouldn't say I'd feel too bad about it. So I really like that room. Defensively, I think safety is improved, but it's one of those where I kind of want to wait and see what happens in camp just because of the fact that so many guys are banged up. You got Keyshawn Cummings-Coleman from Iowa State. Well, he had a shoulder surgery last fall, and so he didn't participate in the spring. You got Mason Ellis, who had another kind of off-season procedure, and he didn't participate in the spring. And so there's kind of a group of guys there that, you'd like to see, but there really wasn't a whole lot. So it was really a lot of Corey Gordon, Christian Pritchett, and then at boundary safety, you had Taylor Davis back and Jaden Harris. But I think top to bottom, that's a room that I think has a lot more talent and a lot more versatility than last year's room had.
Couple more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network for Jayhawk Weekly. Jayhawk baseball can win a conference title, a regular season conference title this weekend. They could potentially wrap one up for the first time since 1949. What a year it's been for Dan Fitzgerald's Jayhawk program. How maybe unexpected was this? They were a tournament team last year, so obviously it was a program moving in the right direction, but this step from being a tournament team to maybe being a national seed, I don't think anybody saw this coming.
Well, and you go back to the end of February, right? And I think they had already had 4 losses at that point. And, I definitely didn't expect this type of run from the team at that point. And to see how they've responded really kind of since the Texas Tech series, man, it's been really impressive. And they're playing really good baseball right now. I think you got to give Dan Fitzgerald so much credit. Year over year, there's just so much roster turnover. And his staff just has done such a great job of evaluating and I think keeping some of these guys around who have had, multiple years and the ability to return like Osario. But I just don't know if you expected this, right? I mean, you sweep K-State for the first time in, I think it was 40 years maybe? I can't remember the exact year it was, but that's a big deal. Then you continue your winning streak, right? Another sweep of Arizona. And so, look, it's been super impressive. Obviously, we'll see what happens tonight against Creighton. But, man, K-Baseball has been a program that generally has been trending up. But, man, this year, really, they have broken through the ceiling. And for them to be able to this weekend go and potentially clinch the regular season title is such a huge deal.
And, Michael, their roster is built a really interesting way. They're bringing in a lot of JUCO kids that seemingly didn't get that ability out of high school to go the D1 route. And here they are. They went JUCO, and now they're succeeding as a team with a lot of JUCO kids.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like, baseball is very different, I think, than the rest of the sport because you look at, I think, college basketball and college football, and the JUCO route has become obsolete pretty much, unless you're looking for emergency filler type of players. And then you look at baseball, and it's kind of like a market inefficiency that Fitz has taken advantage of, and he's done such a great job, even from year one, off season one, of going the JUCO route and using his relationships there. And so it really is a creative way of building a roster and leaning on some of those JUCO coach relationships that you have where, if you call guys up and you trust them and they're saying, hey, come check out, this lefty we have. Yeah, you're going to go check them out and you're going to spend your time on that kid. So I think it's really impressive what they've done again in the era where there's so much focus on the portal and then subsequently a little bit of high school recruiting for them to just continuously kind of find these guys from the JUCO ranks is so impressive. And I think really does speak to the talent evaluation ability of the coaching staff.
Michael Swain covers Kansas Jayhawks athletics for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, and appears with us every week at this time here on 580 Sports Talk for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll step aside for a timeout, come back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. right, thanks again to Michael Swain of Fog.net for joining us for Jayhawk Weekly. 1949, the last time Kansas baseball won a regular season league championship. They went 11-7 in the Big Eight that year.
Wow.
This is back when the college baseball, the College World Series had district tournaments to qualify instead of what we would call a regional.
Sounds like high school.
Yeah, the District 5 tournament was 2 teams. It was Kansas and Oklahoma A&M.
Wow.
And Oklahoma A&M won the best of 3. That, of course, is now Oklahoma State. And they won the best of 3 to advance to the regional tournament, and it would go on from there. They lost then to Texas, who advanced to the College World Series. So, been a long time since KU's won a league title in baseball, but they are on the cusp. It's been a great story to follow. We got 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up to start the 5 o'clock hour of the show, including a playoff roundup. We'll do a little random question Tuesday and preview tonight's game 2 between the Royals and the Guardians from the K on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuy hanging out with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. Like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. We are with you until 6 o'clock tonight, at which point the Royals Baseball Network takes over. Royals, Guardians, game 2 of 4 at Kauffman Stadium. Royals took the opener last night, 6-2, their 4th straight win. They're a game and a half out of first place in the American League Central. Cleveland and Detroit still sharing first place going into tonight. Both lost last night, and with the White Sox win, they're half a game out of first at 17-18. Then they have the Royals a game and a half back in 4th place.
Is this the closest division in the league?
Yes, by far.
Majors?
Yeah. Yes, by far. But only 2.5 games separating first place from last place. It's also the second closest would be the National League Central. The difference there is everybody in the National League Central has a winning record. Yeah. And in the American League Central, nobody does. Only 3 teams in the American League have a winning record. Can you name all 3?
No, I can, but I'm just looking at
the you're looking at the standings. Yeah, I bet if we told you on March 25th, opening day, the 3 teams with a winning record in the American League on May 5th will be the Yankees, the A's, and the Rays. I don't think anybody would have believed you.
I mean, I would have believed the Yankees.
Yeah, he certainly would have believed the Yankees. That's not that much of a stretch. But the Rays, that's very fake. That's very fake. That is, I expect to go the wrong direction at some point soon. And
you know what's really gone the wrong direction? The Baltimore Orioles. Like 4 years ago, I thought they were going to be like win a World Series by now.
Well, they didn't spend any real money last year. Last year was their big opportunity. Go spend some money, but they didn't spend any money. And then they finished in last place. And this year, they spent a little money. They signed Pete Alonso and went out and traded for Taylor Ward. But their pitching stinks. Their pitching is terrible.
Yeah.
Is this a good time to remind people that on March 25th, I predicted that the World Series would be contested between the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Mets? Mets have the worst record in baseball. Whoops. Can't win them all. Long season, but that World Series prediction of mine looking awfully iffy. Let's just say that. Royals and Guardians tonight, game 2 of 4 of the series at Kauffman Stadium. First pitch is set for 6:40. Pregame coverage at 6 o'clock. Not aware, at least for now, of the possibility of any weather delays tonight out there at the K. I know they have already postponed the game in St. Louis tonight. It looks like a chance of rain throughout, a slight chance of rain throughout the night at the K, but nothing more than 20% from first pitch to when you would expect the game to wrap up. So going to be cloudy, going to be cold, but not too windy, and hopefully not too wet for folks. So they've already, though, postponed in St. Louis. So they postponed in Denver today, too. So I guess we're kind of in the middle of some unfortunate weather. Anyhow, Royals baseball tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we've got some sports headlines to get to in this 5 o'clock hour. Lots of sports headlines that we are going to get to. We'll preview that Royals-Guardians game. Got lineups, got the starting pitching matchup. We'll also do some Random Question Tuesday later on this hour as well.
I've got a random question that I'm going to need help with from the text line and the YouTube chat.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You need help asking the question?
No,
or?
I have a question for the people.
Okay. So not just for me.
Yeah, no.
So you want to know my answer, but
I don't know if you've been there.
You need to crowdsource it.
Yes,
okay.
I need crowdsource.
It's a crowdsourced random question. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can do that. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. If you're watching live, hop on in that chat, say hello, and interact with us and interact with your fellow listeners. And interact with us when we do Random Question Tuesday and help Spencer with the problem that apparently I'm not good enough to help him with.
It's not a problem. It's a location. I just don't think you've been there before. Because I think I asked you this a few months ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I might know what it is now. But yeah, we'll get there to Random Question Tuesday. Let's start with some accomplished local athletes on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We have postseason awards in the MIAA for baseball and softball. Regular seasons have come to an end, and so we have postseason honors for 4 teams. And we'll start in baseball, where Washburn was represented on all conference teams. Second team All-League outfielder Ian Luce. Third team All-League utility man Jack Borgman. Ian Luce also made the Gold Glove team. And there are honorable mention honors for pitchers Kai Bennett and McLean Finley, infielders Jackson Mervosh and Trenton Berry, outfielder Levi Reisenhoover, and designated hitter Brant Beebe. Also notable in MIAA baseball, Conference Player of the Year, former Seaman Vikings standout Dagan Brewer from Pitt State. So tip of the cap to the former Seaman Viking. As for softball, the MIAA softball postseason honors were released today, and I clicked on the wrong link to pull those up, so you're going to have to give me a moment to vamp here a little bit as I pull up the all MIAA softball honorees. Washburn represented by first team outfielder Mackenzie Saiz, all MIAA second team pitcher Sadie Walker, all MIAA Gold Glove winners Mackenzie Saiz in the outfield, Kate Ediger at first base, and Mac Moore at catcher. Honorable mention, all conference honors for Moore, Ediger, outfielder Taylor Breeze, and utility player Aspen Burgard. So congratulations to all of them. Also, congratulations to Big 12 Pitcher of the Week, Nija Kennedy from Texas Tech, because she threw a perfect game last week, and who the heck else were they going to give it to? Also happening in Nija's world as she prepares to conclude her college career, there is a path to a professional career for Kennedy. She was the number 2 overall pick in last night's Athletes Unlimited Softball League draft. She was the 2nd overall pick selected by the Texas Volts. They are based out of Austin and play their home games at Dell Diamond. They'll play in Oklahoma City June 9th in their regular season opener. The Athletes Unlimited Softball League bills itself as the premier pro women's softball league in the world. Founded in 2024, but expanding this year to include basically home sites for their teams. In the past, it had kind of been like a barnstorming type of league. They play games in different cities, including Wichita. But this year, they have got more of a traditional American professional sport format where they have teams and teams that have home bases. And the teams that will participate this year are the Chicago Bandits, the Carolina Blaze, the Portland Cascade, the Oklahoma City Spark, the Utah Talons, and the Texas Volts. And again, Nija Kennedy selected by the Volts with the 2nd overall pick in the AUSL draft last night. So tip of the cap to Nija Kennedy, and I would imagine there's a TV deal for the AUSL, but I can't find those details at least quickly enough to relay them to you. But I am sure there will be further opportunities.
ESPN, MLB Network, MLB.com.
Oh, yeah. MLB Network's in on this, too. Yeah, that's right.
Because the MLB itself is partnering with them.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, I just looked up the draft, and that's how I found the list of all the picks was on MLB.com.
There you go. All right. So, Nija Kennedy knows where she'll play her professional softball, the Texas Volts. Anyhow, those are some local sports headlines for you to start. Spencer, give me another sports headline.
Yeah, this is a regional sports headline for you, and it's an unfortunate one, but it's becoming more and more a part of the world of college athletics since the House bill went into place. Wichita State just announcing within the last 11 minutes that they are discontinuing their NCAA men's and women's golf programs. Quote, the difficult decision followed a careful and comprehensive evaluation of Wichita State's athletics portfolio and resource allocation as the university balances rising operational costs with the need to preserve the long-term financial stability and competitive strength of Shocker Athletics. Athletic Director Kevin Saul said today marks a difficult moment for our athletic department. The decision was not made lightly and reflects deep and deliberate consideration. I have the utmost respect for head coaches Judd Easterling and Tom McCurdy, and our student athletes and our men's and women's golf teams have a proud tradition and history, and I've represented Wichita State with integrity and distinction, end quote.
That is disappointing to hear. Could kind of see this coming over the years. Wichita State used to have an on-campus golf course, and they don't have that anymore. If you go down to the Wichita State campus, that area that used to be the golf course is now like retail space. And so obviously I think that reflected, that was a long time ago. I think when I was living in Wichita, 2013 to 2015, they still had the golf course. And I think they had sold it at that point, and eventually it would become retail. But that sort of showed there that, there was a restraining of their investment into that particular aspect of their athletic department. But they got a lot of overhead on their athletic department, even without football, because they're in the American. That's a lot of travel for their other teams, and no football revenue to bring in. A lot of Division I schools, football floats a lot of the rest of the athletic department, and Wichita State, rather notably, has not had football since 1986. So yes, that is it's a sad day for those student athletes, certainly many of whom are actually from outside of the United States. I was checking their golf rosters, and there's a lot of both on the men's and women's teams, international players.
One Kansas player between both teams.
Yeah, one Kansas, and it was on a young woman from Wichita's on the girls golf, the women's golf team. But no more golf at Wichita State, and that was a program with some tradition and its own golf course on campus, and lost that ladder, and now the program no longer exists.
Leaves them with 12 sports that they offer.
Let's get to some NFL headlines. I'll start with the Chiefs headline. They have signed the first of their 2026 draft picks to his rookie deal. It's Emmett Johnson, the fifth-round running back selected out of Nebraska. He is the first Chiefs draft pick to officially sign his contract. In other Chiefs news today, the Chiefs waived Zach Pickens yesterday, defensive tackle who appeared in some games with the team in 2025. He was claimed off of waivers today by the New York Giants. Let's do some other NFL headlines, Spencer.
Yes, we've got some signings. Your team, Dan, the Seahawks, they have signed Dante Fowler to a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million. It's a pretty good signing if it's worth up to $5 million. I would assume that means some incentives in there. I think it's a good signing to add some an edge depth there.
So they lost Boye Mafe, obviously, to free agency, and Seattle's whole thing last year was just waves of bodies, just fresh legs, and just keep coming into the backfield and relentlessly pursue the quarterback. Dante Fowler can do that in a rotational role. And we had talked yesterday, talked to Matt Verderame about, that class of veteran edge rushers. And Matt said, a lot of those guys, they already kind of know where they're going to end up playing, whether they're going to go back to their old team or whether they're going to sign with somebody else. There've already been some talks. There've already been, some understanding. They just don't want to sign and go through like OTAs. They would rather sign later in the process and then just show up at training camp or maybe a few days into training camp and get themselves ready that way. They just don't want to be a part of the whole off-season program. And as veteran players, they've earned a little bit of that right. So you've got guys like Cam Jordan and Joey Bosa and Jadeveon Clowney and Leonard Floyd, and until today, Dante Fowler, like guys who are going to get jobs, guys who are going to play for somebody. Von Miller, another one, just cooling their heels, biding their time. And so it was a little ironic to see one of them today say, yeah, actually, I'm going to go ahead and sign a contract and get rolling on 2026. And it makes a lot of sense. Fowler to a Seattle team that had a vacancy on their defensive or in their edge rotation to fill.
Yeah. Another team making a signing on the defensive line. The Giants have agreed to a 2-year, $12.5 million contract with veteran defensive tackle DJ Reader, according to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Reader can make up to $15.5 million through incentives. The deal comes, obviously, after they traded Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals. That freed up more than $12.5 million in salary cap space with that. They also drafted Bobby Jamison Travis in the 6th round to bolster their defensive line.
So, yeah, they needed defensive tackle help.
They also claimed Zach Pickens today, too.
Yes, they did. Just like I mentioned, they did. They claimed Zach Pickens. They got Shelby Harris already in. That was a position of need for them before they made it a position of more need by trading Dexter Lawrence. But I've always thought DJ Reader was a really good player. Like, I thought he was a really underrated piece on those Cincinnati defenses when Cincinnati was, much more of a contender than they are now. The last about 3-4 years ago, I thought he was a really underrated piece of those teams. So that's a good addition for the Giants. That's a solid player. One other headline to get to today: the University of Houston becomes the latest Big 12 school to publicly announce that they will decline the $30 million available line of private capital credit being offered to all Big 12 conference schools after the Big 12's agreement with Redbird Capital and Weatherford Capital that was struck last week. Houston made a statement, and if you'll permit me a moment to try and find a link to the statement so that I can quote from it directly. Eddie Nunez is the athletic director at the University of Houston, and his quote to the Houston Chronicle: "We are supportive of what Redbird is bringing to the table, but as an institution right now, we are not considering the school-level investment that they have honored or have offered." The reason this is interesting is because if anybody in the conference could use an infusion of cash, it's probably Houston. Their athletic revenues, according to the most recent NCAA financial report, were $92.7 million. And it ranks among the lowest revenues among major conference schools. Now, they're going to get a full revenue distribution from the Big 12 this coming year, which was not the case their first 2 years in the new league. That was part of the agreement when they joined the conference. But this is also a university where, all due respect to the job Willie Fritz is doing on the gridiron, right? Houston's bread right now is being buttered by basketball. That's their most nationally prominent program right now, is their men's basketball team. And Kelvin Sampson has not hesitated to say publicly, hey, we got to get some money. If we're going to continue to be competitive, if we're going to continue to recruit high-level players and bring top-tier talent to our university and to this basketball program, we need more money. So it is obviously a consideration and a concern, a real concern for Kelvin Sampson and that basketball program. So Houston felt like a school that it would have made a lot of sense for them to jump on that $30 million line of credit, but they have said no. It is also, I think, notable that this follows UCF saying no. UCF, another school, doesn't have a lot of athletic revenue. They're just now going to get the full revenue distribution from the Big 12 after not getting it the last 2 years. But UCF has said, hey, we're really glad for this partnership, but we're not going to take the money. We're not going to take the $30 million line of credit. So now you start to wonder if anybody's going to. Wouldn't that be something? Big 12 says, hey, y'all, $30 million credit. You want it? It's yours. We made this deal. We're prepared to back it. Redbird Capital's prepared to back it. What if it 0 for 16? What if nobody says yes? Because if anybody made sense to say yes, it was Houston. And they said no.
Yeah, and another thing, schools may have already done this on their own, not capital, but taken out loans.
or
I don't know
received significant financial commitment, like the David Booth check that he wrote Kansas.
Yeah, but KU has a line of credit.
Yeah,
that they're using,
but also the $200 million infusion from David Booth is significant and make them probably less likely to jump at a one-time offer of $30 million that they're going to have to pay back with interest. So I am surprised, and now I'm looking at Iowa State. I'm thinking, like I said, Iowa State has been a program that has flat out said, "Hey, we don't have a lot of money here." Jamie Pollard want a piece of that $30 million. Because if not him, I really don't know. BYU is a no. We'll ask Tim Fitzgerald if he's heard anything tomorrow on the Wildcat wrap-up. But when we talked to him last week, his understanding was Kansas State's not real interested. I think Kansas is going to be a no. Oklahoma State doesn't need it. Texas Tech sure doesn't need it. Like, who's going to take the money? And what happens if nobody does? That's something wild to comprehend. Anyway, before we wrap up our headlines, let's get to a playoff roundup, shall we? Let's do a playoff roundup for this Tuesday.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
We'll start with the hockey, a thriller in Raleigh last night, as after 5 minutes, the Carolina Hurricanes trailed the Philadelphia Flyers 2-0. But they came back. Seth Jarvis tied it in the third period. Veteran Taylor Hall wanted an OT for the Canes. They beat the Flyers 3-2 and take a 2-0 lead in their Eastern Conference semifinals. Carolina yet to lose in the playoffs. They are 6-0. Out west, game one of a Western semifinal, the Vegas Golden Knights defeated the Anaheim Ducks 3-1. Ivan Barbashev's insurance goal in the third came on a play that the Ducks were swearing after the game was offside. They were not pleased, but the goal stood, and Vegas takes a 1-0 lead in that series. Just one hockey game tonight. The Avalanche try to maintain their own unbeaten playoff record in Game 2 against the Minnesota Wild. Avalanche won Game 1 9-6, and the Wild are making a goaltender change, pulling Jesper Wallstedt, the young goalie who was spectacular in their first-round series win over the Stars. They're going to put in the guy who started the year as their starter, Philip Gustafsson, who's a good player. They got two good goalies. But bit of a panic move, yanking your goalie after one game. He was so good in the Dallas series, gives up 8. The 9th was an empty netter. And you make the switch. It feels a little panicky from the Wild. Although the flip side of it, what's the line from It's Miracle, right? Where Jim Craig tells Herb Brooks, "Hey, it's my net." And Herb Brooks says, "They just scored 10, Jimmy. Right now, it's everybody's net." That's kind of how it felt against Wallstedt in Game 1. So big news in that one, the goalie change for the Wild. That's Game 2 of that Colorado-Minnesota series tonight. In the NBA, the New York Knicks are beating the snot out of everybody right now. Jalen Brunson scored 35 in just 31 minutes of play. The Knicks hammered the Philadelphia 76ers 137-98 in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, a 39-point margin of victory after they won Game 6 of their first-round series by 51 points. So that's plus 90 in their last two games. That is a playoff record. In San Antonio last night, Victor Wembanyama set a playoff record with 12 blocked shots. But the shots that weren't blocked were going in for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who stunned the Spurs in Game 1 of that Western semi, 104-102. Anthony Edwards, 9 days after a bone bruise in his knee, scored 18 points in his 25 minutes off the bench. Of course, it wouldn't be the Wolves if they weren't crying to the referees, even after a game that they won. Chris Finch said, "Yeah, Victor Wembanyama blocked a lot of shots, but most of those were goaltending. 4 of those were goaltending."
Salty.
He just cries. He did it. Well, why wouldn't you? Because after Game 1 of the Denver series, where it was officiated like you're supposed to officiate basketball, where, like, if you make contact with the offensive player, it's a foul, and Jamal Murray shot 16 free throws, and the Nuggets won Game 1, Chris Finch cried and moaned and complained, and then his team got to play MMA defense, just like the Thunder, for the rest of the series, and unsurprisingly won the series. So, yeah, why wouldn't you work the refs if you're Chris Finch? Apparently it works. Apparently you get to do it, and your team gets to play UFC defense. There is a war for the soul of basketball occurring in the Western Conference between ethical hoops and unethical hoops, MMA style hoops. And it's not looking good for ethical hoops. Ethical hoops is down horrendous. Ethical hoops is represented basically by Wemby and a bunch of guys who looked like the lights were a little too bright for him last night. And LeBron James, who is not a great representative for ethical hoops, if you look at his body of work. It's a war for the soul of basketball, and I fear that it will be lost. Tonight,
this is why I don't like the NBA that much.
No, I can't watch it. I don't watch games that aren't Nuggets games. Like, I'm giving you recaps of these games. They could play the 2 games they got tonight. They could play them in my kitchen and find something else to do. I don't find the product attractive. I don't want to watch the Oklahoma City Thunder play MMA basketball and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander throw himself all over the court for 48 minutes. Does not appeal to me. If it appeals to you, great. I'm sure you love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you Thunder fans. I'm sure you're thrilled that he's going to win MVP again. As soon as you guys figure out what that spells, you're going to be really excited. But no, it's unattractive basketball, and I got no use for it. Lakers, Thunder, and Cleveland, Detroit, the other 2 semifinal series open game ones tonight. That's your playoff roundup. When we come back, it's time for Random Question Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. One last stray headline here on 580 Sports Talk. This broke as we were going to commercial. Sounds like we're going to avoid replacement refs in the NFL. The NFL Referees Association has scheduled a ratification vote on a new collective bargaining agreement for Thursday night. And in that agreement becomes formally approved by both sides, the agreement would avoid the need to use replacement officials in 2026. And we all breathe a sigh of relief because we have lived through NFL replacement refs once, and we have no desire to go back and do that. Did you see, it was Michael Silver of The Athletic wrote a piece about like, hey, the NFL really needs to avoid this. And his example, he was at what everybody remembers as the fail Mary.
Yeah.
Right? The Seahawks and the Packers. That was the point of no return for the replacement refs. It could not go on. And it did not go on. They had the refs back for the next week of games. That was the game where it was the point of no return. And I remember obviously watching that game and being delighted by the result. And I love to poke Brendan about it all the time. About, hey, what are you talking about? It didn't look like a touchdown to me. But Michael Silver of The Athletic was writing for Yahoo Sports at the time. And he was on the field and saw that play. And he made it on camera, like on the ESPN camera, which is a Monday Night Football. And he's going up to Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers is his guy because they both went to Cal, and going up to Aaron Rodgers and asking him what the bleep just happened. Like, and you could hear it on the on the ESPN broadcast. So Michael Silver writes this piece. And apparently, after that game, he was set to have dinner with Marshawn Lynch, which, again, it's his guy. They're they have the connection. They both went to Cal Berkeley. So he goes and meets up with Marshawn Lynch. And Lynch had not seen the replay. And toward the end of dinner, they decide, all right, well, we got to see this play. And the Silver tells it much better in the story than I can secondhand. But Marshawn Lynch sees the replay of the final play of the game that was ruled a Seahawks touchdown and a game-winning touchdown. And Marshawn Lynch's words were, bleep, we lost. And he went, apparently there were some Packer fans or outside the restaurant, and he said, y'all, we lost. We're sorry. Y'all won tonight. So, yeah, looks like we're going to avoid a redo of the Fail Mary or anything like it. Looks like the real refs will be on the field for 2026. It's time for Random Question Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk, and you have a crowdsource Random Question Tuesday you'd like to ask, Spencer.
Yeah. So going to Norman, Oklahoma this weekend, home of the Boomer Sooner, y'all, former Big 12 foes, right?
Right.
Don't know a lot what to do. I'm going to a concert down there Saturday night, but going to spend Friday and part of Sunday and obviously all day Saturday. So if anybody has been in Norman and has any good spots to hit, put it in the YouTube chat, Facebook chat, or text us 785-272-9429.
Spencer is looking for a good time in the Norman area. I realized how that was going to sound as I started to say it, and I just went ahead with it. I just plowed ahead with it. But anyway, give Spencer some ideas for how to spend a weekend in Norman/Oklahoma City. Because Oklahoma City's not far, right? You're staying in Norman.
Yeah.
But you're close enough to Oklahoma City that, like, you could go do stuff in Oklahoma City. There's always Bricktown. It's not, like, fun, but the Oklahoma City bombing monument is something that you should see.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that you should experience. But if there's anybody who has some experience in Norman, Oklahoma, would like to help our guy Spencer enjoy his weekend, 785-272-9429, and, of course, the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. Paul says the best thing to get in Norman is directions out of Norman.
Oh, funny.
That is good. Jeffrey asked if you're going to see Rush. I don't think they're touring anymore.
No, I'm going to see Luke Combs. I do have a real random question Tuesday.
All right, bring it.
So I don't know if obviously we're not close enough to Kansas City to have one of these restaurants, but I don't know if you have seen the latest on social media. So the Royals tend to only do good at home. They only tend to score more than 6 runs, I think, at home.
Mm-hmm.
And have you heard of their food partnership?
Yeah. So if they score 6 or more, it's, what is it? Free lunch with your ticket stub at Hawaiian Brothers?
Yes. So that got me to think, what is your favorite, like, sports partnership for, like, goals or
food
points
promotion?
For promotions?
Okay.
I got 2 off the top of my head real quick.
So
Papa John's for me. If the Capitals scored 3 or more, you get a percent. I think it was 8% off of your pizza for Ovechkin.
Okay.
And then he did a promo with them, and he has a commercial where he says, "Pizza's here."
Okay.
And the other one is what the Caps do right now. It's the McNugget minute. It's just like, if they score a goal
in that minute,
in the final minute of each period in regulation. Of any period in regulation, you get free McNuggets the next day that DC participating.
That's kind of awesome. That's creative.
So,
I've never heard of that.
What, like, you're a big sports fan and you've been to multiple places. And so what is yours?
So let me give you 2. It's also a Papa John's promotion. This was back when I was living in Wichita. If the Wichita Wingnuts won, you got like 50% off a large pizza with your ticket stub. And the summer I spent there in full, the Wingnuts went like 73-27. They won all the time. And so I would always use the code and get pizza half off at Papa John's. There's a Papa John's because I went to a lot of the games. I lived, and people who've been to Wichita, or maybe people are hearing us Wichita right now, familiar with the Delano neighborhood. I lived in Delano. And so, like, it was a straight walk, basically. I could walk from Douglas Street all the way down to Lawrence Dumont Stadium. So I went to a ton of these Wingnuts games. And they won all the time. That team was incredible, man. CJ Ziegler, John Rodriguez, Jake Calalio, and Ryan Corey up the middle. Man, that team was sick. And yeah, so I got a lot of half price pizza at Papa John's, because there was a Papa John's like right across the river in one of the buildings. It was the lower level of one of the taller buildings in the in downtown. Yeah, I would go like sometimes I would order it like after the game. And if I had driven to the game, and I would just drive across the river and I'd go get my pizza, and that was dinner that night. Like on a Sunday, like a Sunday matinee, they won, and then pizza was taken care of. The other one is the classic Colorado Rockies tacos promotion. If they score 7 or more runs in a game, you get 4 tacos for $1.
Wow.
With the purchase of a large drink at participating Taco Bells between the hours of 4 and 6 the next day. So it was very specific. And it used to be just 4 tacos for $1, no questions asked. Then they made you buy a drink. Then it became harder to score runs. When the Rockies are bad and they go on the road, like you don't get tacos for like a whole road trip. Like it should, honestly, if they scored 7 runs in a road game, some of the Rockies teams in my lifetime, if they scored 7 in a single road game, you should get to ransack a Taco Bell. But yeah, 4 tacos for $1 after they score 7. That fed me. Especially when I was living in Sterling, Colorado, the year or in change, I worked in Northeast Colorado, and I made less than no money. Unfortunately, the Rockies kind of stunk, but when they scored 7, believe you me, I was there. We have a couple of shouts from the 785 on the text line and from Paul in the YouTube chat for the old Royals Krispy Kreme promotion. 12 hits, free dozen donuts.
Oh my God, I would have been in on that.
I know, right? That's a good one. Also love the bricks for breadsticks at K-State basketball games, where if an opponent misses 2 free throws on a trip to the line, the student section gets free breadsticks, because the student section goes nuts when somebody misses the first free throw.
Marshall did that. It was free biscuits at it starts with an S. It's a Southern chain. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's short-lived in Huntington. They have chicken and they have
nothing for you. Not Bojangles.
Bojangles.
Oh, was Bojangles?
I don't know why I thought S.
Yes,
Bojangles.
Bojangles with an S, as it's commonly spelled. Man, Bo biscuits. Oh man.
Yeah.
God, could go for a.
I don't know. I've seen this thing about how like Hawaiian Bros feel like they're going bankrupt. People are saying it as a joke because the Royals
keep scoring. Yeah,
it's only at home. The promotion is only when the Royals are at home, and they have only really scored 6+ runs at home.
That's true. They've been scoring a lot more runs lately. Thank you to the texters from the 785 who have informed me, 2 different texters who informed me that Rush has a new drummer and is about to go back out on tour. So you are not too late in your life, Spencer, to see the power trio. It's not the same without Neil Peart on the drums. I'm sure it's not quite the same, but the songs still go crazy. Here is my random question Tuesday real quick. What is an artist? This could be a musician, maybe an actor, but like an artist who you have either outgrown or decided for whatever reason, I don't really need their art in my life anymore. Like, this is where people would say, like, oh, you canceled them. Like, I don't think, like, it's the stupidest phrase in the world. They've been canceled. No, you just decide you don't rock with them anymore.
Kanye.
Yeah, it's Kanye for me.
Yeah.
I can't do any. Dude, I loved Kanye West music, and I can't do any of it anymore because I cannot hear his voice and also not hear slavery was a choice. And in addition to some other even more out of pocket stuff that he said. But that's his choice. Like, he's not canceled. He's touring. He's not touring in Europe. They don't want him hanging around. Like, you say certain things, they don't let you in, like Germany, for example. Yeah. But like, he put out an album. People can still buy his album. People can still consume his art. He has not been canceled. I just decided I don't rock with him like that anymore. I canceled him for me. We all get to make those decisions.
Yep.
And that was a very easy decision for me to say, you know what? And it's because sometimes you go to a stadium and he's not canceled at like football stadiums, and you hear Power and you think, oh my God, this song goes, oh, I love this. Then you remember, like, nah, man, like I'm not choosing that artist anymore. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We will get you a preview for tonight's Royals game. Royals trying to make it 5 straight wins for the first time this season as they face the Guardians. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. .548 on 580 Sports Talk. Pre-game coverage from the Royals Baseball Network begins in 12 minutes. So Royals and the Guardians renew hostilities after a 6-2 victory for the Royals last night, game 1 of that 4-game series at the K. Game 2 tonight sees Stephen Kolek making his 2026 Royals debut. In case you missed the news, it was reported last night that Noah Cameron, tonight's scheduled starting pitcher, dealing with some low back tightness, which, brother, I feel you. He will not get the start tonight. Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. Yeah. So Stephen Kolek will get the start. It is his first start with the Royals this season. He had made 4 appearances down at AAA Omaha, 16 1/3 innings as he worked back from his own spring training injury. Pitched well, 2.76 ERA, 14 strikeouts to just 4 walks in these 16 2/3 innings. Last year, Kolek made 5 starts for the Royals after coming over from San Diego in the Freddie Fermin trade. Pitched to a 1.91 ERA, 21-5 strikeout to walk ratio, only 1 home run allowed in 33 innings of work. So given the fact that he hasn't really gone deep into starts yet, I wouldn't expect more than 4 or 5 innings from Kolek tonight, which makes it all the more valuable how much of the game that Michael Wacha covered last night, because the bullpen should be mostly ready to go. You should have guys available. Not the erstwhile long reliever, Mason Black. He was sent down to AAA today to make room for Kolek on the roster. But like Winder Avila is available. Certainly could see him tonight in a multi-inning role. And then if it's a close game of the night, Lucas Erceg will be available because the Royals didn't have to use him. Yeah. Shout
out to Michael Wacha. If he hadn't given up those 2 hits, I wonder if he would have gone into the 8th last
I think he absolutely would have gone into the 8th. Only 79 pitches, but the hard contact in the 7th probably is fine in a 3-run game that it was probably time. And Matt Strom handled the 8th nicely, and Alex Lang with a scoreless 9th. Lineup in support of Kolek tonight: Michael Garcia leading off at 3rd, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinny Pasquantino at 1st, Salvi DHing for a 2nd straight game, Carter Jensen catching and batting 5th, Jac Caglianone batting 6th tonight. The lefties are not split in Matt Quatrero's lineup. Be Isaac Collins in left field, Michael Massey at second base, Kyle Isbell in center field. So left-handed heavy lineup against the right-hander Gavin Williams, who has been quite good this year, 5-1 with a 2.70 earned run average, and he was really good against the Royals first time he saw them this year. 5 2/3 innings of one hit ball, did walk 5, but also struck out 8. Coming off of 7 2/3 innings of 5 hit ball with no walks and 9 strikeouts in his most recent start. It'll be a lefty-heavy lineup in support of Williams, Stephen Kwan in center field, Chase DeLauder in right field, and the switch hitter Jose Ramirez at third. Kyle Manzardo into the lineup at first base hitting cleanup. Rhys Hoskins will DH. Daniel Schneemann is the shortstop. Travis Bazzana is the second baseman. Angel Martinez in left field. Bo Naylor bats ninth and does the catching. Win tonight would be big because it's not a pitching matchup that on its face favors the Royals. This is one you kind of feel like you got to steal in a 4-game series because Williams has been throwing the ball really well and has a couple of double-digit strikeout efforts on his ledger this year, including one against the Dodgers back on April 1st. So he can really sling it. But the Royals were patient against him last time around. They had 5 walks in 5 2/3, just couldn't push any of those runners across. The only time they were able to score on him was on Carter Jensen's second-inning home run in that game. That was the day game in that series in Cleveland that the Royals ended up losing 2-1 on the walk-off hit by Rocchio in the 9th. So Royals will try and do better against Williams second time around and hope maybe there's an element of surprise with the right-hander Kulik coming up from Omaha. First pitch at 6:40 from the K. Hopefully it stays dry tonight. You'll hear it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
They'll try to score 6 or more runs again.
Try and score 6 or more runs and keep pushing Hawaiian Brothers
into bankruptcy,
out of business. Walt in the YouTube comments shares one. Back in the day, Walt from St. George, welcome in, Walt, says he grew up in Wisconsin, and the Brewers, at one time there was a restaurant when the Brewers won 12 straight games, it would be free hamburgers for everybody. And Walt, if you're still watching, and you can correct the record if I'm wrong, but I think that was the year the Brewers went on like a 18-game winning streak. And so the entire city was eating George Webb hamburgers. I think I have heard that story somewhere before, Walt, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we appreciate you being a part of the chat here today on our YouTube channel on 580 Sports Talk. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up the show with the final word. Let's put a wrap on this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
I really like what I've seen from the Royals lately. I think they're really getting out of a funk offensively, and I don't know if that was maybe the guys that left and were in the World Baseball Classic. Maybe not. Maybe, for them having to heat up so fast, and then they came back, and then the regular season started. But I've really liked the offense I've seen from the Royals of late, and I think they continue this. Obviously, they built themselves a hole, but they were lucky enough that the division wasn't that good right out of the gate. So if they can finish this week off pretty well, they could literally go from like bottom to top as they face the Guardians for 3 more this week.
Final word for me today. You could sell me on a step forward for Tyquan Thornton in 2026. You could sell me on a return to health for Xavier Worthy. You could sell me on another year removed from a torn ACL, bringing back Rashee Rice's previous top-end form as well. But it sure is tough to bet on all 3 of those things happening in the same year, and it's even harder to bet on all 3 of those players making it through the rigors of a 17-game season plus the playoffs. The Chiefs must meaningfully address wide receiver depth before this offseason is over, because the top 3 are iffy and have injury concerns, and you don't want to hang Patrick Mahomes out to dry with a shoddy receiver core without much experience in depth. That'll do it for us today. The Royals are next. We're back tomorrow, 3 until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. 580 Sports Talk. Good night.